let's look at Forex. First off, read this disclaimer carefully. We are going to compare the US dollar and the Norwegian Krone. We have weekly data points here, and we go way back here to 1993. So during this period, let's get our measurement tool like that. So the US dollar, it strengthened 55% against the kroner, but from 2001 all the way to 2008, the US dollar actually weakened, minus 49%. However, since that bottom, we've seen the dollar strengthen a whopping 140-ish% against the kroner. And something that sticks out is that we have recently seen this parabolic move of the dollar, just absolutely skyrocketing. So basically what's happening here is without precedent. It's extreme. We are seeing, let's go to first let's look at the weekly moving averages. We are above all the moving averages. Golden crosshair on the weeklies. The average true range here has spiked dramatically. The RSI also was way overbought. The statistical correlation between this currency pair and the S&P 500 is 34%. So let's go to the daily data points. Let's do it like that. And zoom in a bit. So you can see how dramatic this move was. So let's just measure from here to there. That's 26% in a very short time. So that's just extreme. The RSI went all the way up here actually to 87. That's ridiculous. Average true range, if we go all the way back into the past, you can see that we've never seen this extreme increase in volatility. So it's a really ridiculous situation, and it goes to show you that even in the Forex market, you can have moves that you usually only you primarily see in like penny stocks, because the Forex market is supposed to be more mature, serious. The information should be much better baked into the price. But when there is something very unexpected, like with Corona and the extreme policies now from the central banks, then you can have these kinds of moves. We have recently seen some pullback. So the bulls have made decent money, and also the bears. But yeah, incredible move. Absolutely incredible. So let's actually, and as far as moving averages goes, we are currently testing the 10-day moving average. Historically, it has been support quite a few times. So we are at least hanging on there at this moment. I found this website which is quite interesting. Index Mundi doesn't look like super, aesthetic. But here you can compare countries. So United States and Norway, you can compare the economies. So let's just go through the first paragraph. So the US has the most technologically powerful economy in the world, with a per capita GDP of 59.5 thousand US dollars. Norway has a stable economy with a vibrant private sector, a large state sector, and an extensive social safety net. I would assume this information is from, it's from the CIA fact book, let's just skip through. GDP purchasing power, 2017 numbers here, 19.49 trillion for USA, 381 billion for Norway. Of course, the size of these countries, there's a huge difference. So GDP, real growth rate, 2.2%, USA, 1.9% Norway, so relatively close. There was a bigger gap here, as you can see, in 2016. There is per capita GDP. So 59.8 thousand US dollars for USA, but significantly higher here for Norway, 72,100 US dollars. GDP composition by sector. So you can see here that services is 80% in USA, but only 64% in Norway. Industry is 19% USA, 34 you could say in Norway. And the agricultural sector is more than twice as big in Norway. But that's something we have been working on to become more self-sufficient, which is especially important nowadays. Population below poverty line, 15% in USA. We don't have any data in Norway. Household income or consumption by percentage share, lowest 10%, 2%, 3.8. Inflation rate, yeah, relatively close, 2.1 here and 1.9 here. There's no point in, I mean, the labor force, of course, there's going to be a huge difference because of the number of people. Here is, this is interesting, labor force by occupation, but we don't have sufficient, I mean, it's hard to compare. Unemployment rate, 4.4% here, 4.2, relatively close. Budget, industries. So industries here for USA, highly diversified, world leading, high technology innovator, second largest industrial output in the world, petroleum, steel, motor, vehicles, aerospace, telecommunications, chemicals, electronics, food processing, consumer goods, lumber, mining. For Norway you get petroleum and gas, huge, shipping, I mean very long coast, fishing, aquaculture, food processing, shipbuilding, pulp and paper products, metals, chemicals, timber, mining, textiles. Yeah. So let's just, I mean, there's so much data. Very interesting website, and you can also here pick beyond economy. You could pick, let's pick demographics, compare that. So population size here, of course, there's a huge difference. Let's look at the age structure. That's a very interesting topic. So, yeah, relatively similar here, actually. No, like, stark differences. Median age, 37 years for males in USA, 38.6-ish for Norway. Population growth rate, 0.8% here, so there is a higher growth rate here in Norway. Net migration rate, 3.8 migrants to the one, so there's a higher migration rate here. In Norway, the infant mortality rate, yeah, I mean, infant mortality rate is drastically less in Norway. Life expectancy. Actually, it is actually pretty close, and you have like the classical difference between males and females. So that's interesting. So let's just quickly look at, let's look at the military. So military expenditures as a percent of GDP. So it was 3.16% of GDP in 2018 for USA. Yeah. Basically like half in the case of Norway. So yeah, very interesting website, and especially when it comes to Forex. So there's been a huge move, but there's a strengthening of the US dollar, but we've now seen some weakening. The monetary and fiscal policies of USA at this moment is pretty darn extreme. The Federal Reserve is firing from all cylinders. You got extreme amount of debt in the American economy. USA is able to take on that much debt because it has a huge army. That actually is a pretty significant factor. But historically speaking, if you look you know, over thousands of years of human history, having extreme amounts of debt, it never ends well. We have seen the greatest military empires throughout history unravel because of those, you know, it simply is not sustainable. And the biggest issue with debt is that you can create this legitimacy crisis. And if you do not have legitimacy, then it doesn't really matter what other kind of tools you have in your arsenal. So yeah, we live in really extreme times, so be careful and let the trend be your friend.